Well, hey, hi, it's Lori Kirstein from the Goodbye Good Girl Project, where we break the rules in order to discover what really works for us, to discover what is new and what defines who we truly are. So, I wanted to talk to you today, and I am going to talk to you today about the power of not doing. Not doing. This is a very particular kind of courage. And I want to start by asking you to sort of level set with me. So, if you have ever had a moment or a period in your life where you have felt like you were just riding on a wave, like you were just following along, you were the passenger in the car of your life, things were going well, things were going without you having to push. They were just happening. You had to effort, but you didn't have to push. If you've ever had that feeling, I want you to remember that feeling now. That feeling of when you were in love, that first time you fell in love. And for a certain period of time, everything was beautiful. People were paying attention to you in beautiful ways. Suddenly, wonderful things are happening. People were offering you smiles on the street, and you were feeling extremely supported by life. Everything felt like it was going great. Or maybe you had a situation like I've had where I met a great woman, a great being, and her energy is so off the chain that it makes me feel supported and I can let go and let things happen, and they do. Let me give you some examples. So when my father was sick, my father got sick when he started having strokes. This is probably 30 years ago now. And he was really just incapable of doing anything for himself, and I was incapable of knowing what to do because at that time in my life I wasn't really prepared for that kind of challenge. And yet I had it dumped in my lap and I took it because that's how I'm built. I'm not the person who will look at the challenge and run. I will look at the challenge and go, okay, what the hell do I do? So I took the challenge, and in the very, very beginning stages of this, because my father went through this illness for 6 years, at the end of which he did pass. But at the beginning, it was necessary for me to figure out what to do, what kinds of hospital, what kind of hospital, what kinds of treatment, what should I do about all of his belongings and his money, whatever, wherever he had it. He was a world traveler, so he had money in different places, and I had to go find it. And I was at the hospital at 6 a.m. and I was working until midnight at night once I got home at 6 p.m. to try to put together all of his things so that I could be sure that I could take care of him if he did in fact live, which he did. So one night I was told that his doctor, who was kind of not with it, said, okay, we're going to release your dad. We're going to let him go. And I'm like, you're going to let him go? He still needs to have IVs put into his arm. You think I know how to do that? I'm not a nurse. What do you mean you're going to just release him? And the guy's like, yeah, we're letting him go. We've done all we can for him. I'm like, God, no, you haven't. So I'm sitting there at night and I'm despairing, and I give up. I'm just sitting in this chair thinking, wow, all right, what do I do now? There's nothing left for me to do now. I have no defenses against this one. If he comes home, I guess he comes home and I have to figure out how to be a nurse, and this really stinks. And the phone rang, and it was my father's old therapist, who is also a doctor. And he said, hi, I'm just calling to see how your father's doing. And I'm like, you're what? Yeah, just calling to see how your father's doing. Thank you so much, Henry. Oh my God, I am so thrilled to hear from you. And I tell him what's going on. And I'm like, what can I do? And he goes, well, I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do. You're going to send him to my hospital where I have, rights to be there, to see people there. And we're going to admit him and we're going to look after him. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So that came from not doing. That came from saying, I'm actually out of answers and I'm going to let in some answers that I don't even have a clue what they are. So the question is for this morning, how do we not do? How do we make more moments like that where we just let go and we say, okay, my answers are kind of good. They're kind of interesting, but where do I find ones that are even better? How do I open myself to let in answers that are even better? How do we do that? One of the ways that I have found recently, I should say refound, rediscovered, is that of Mike Dooley. I learned of Mike Dooley 15, 20 years ago, and he's the guy who in the movie The Secret says thoughts become things. I have some issues with that phrase, but his point is what you focus on is what you're going to create more of. So it makes sense that if I'm creating stuff that I don't want, and I believe that I cannot really just go and create things I do want because that gives me a kind of power that I don't believe in. But if I make room for the power, energy, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, if I make room, just like I did when I gave up and said, I don't know what to do about my father, then something is going to come through that is far better than anything I could have come up with. Far, far, far better. So, how do we do that? Well, with Mike, what you do is you listen to his lesson about creative visualization every day for anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes, whatever works for you. You set your alarm on your phone for that many minutes and you sit there and you imagine the outcome. You don't imagine. So for me, being, making a wonderful movie with an incredible bunch of actors and lovely human beings, I'm not necessarily going to picture myself making the movie. I'm going to picture what my life is like afterwards. I'm going to picture me in that movie, me in that image of my life afterwards, me putting my key into my brand new house, me in my brand new car, which has already happened. I already bought the car. I'm not going to picture me going to the dealer and buying the car. I'm not going to picture me going and looking at the house. I'm going to picture I'm already in it. And I'm putting myself in the picture. I'm not watching myself and going, oh, look at her going and doing all these cool things. I am there. I am it. Very, very powerful because what we're doing is we're leaving room for the better to show up, the better than we even know to show up. So that is one thing we can do. And that is one thing I am doing. And as a result, here's what's happening. So I have lots of things that I'm creatively visualizing. And what's happening is since a lot of it is around finance and my goals, not with finance, but with the good I want to do in the world, that what's happening is my business starts to shaping up in a way I didn't see coming that is absolutely aligned with me. I am watching the training that I bought that I had put aside for a month. And I suddenly brought it back out. I said, wait a second, I need this. Sure enough, I need this. It's fantastic. It's transforming my sense of self, my sense of self-security, and my sense of self-confidence. And it's because I'm practicing letting go. It's because of that. It's not because I efforted more, because the thing is, our minds are very limited. We can only go so far. Proof is if let's take love again. You've met somebody. You've fallen in love with them. You guys are as happy as little pigs in mud. Terrific. Did you make that happen? Did you go behind the scenes and have a little talk with the universe and go, okay, his or her name is going to be yada, yada, yada. And then on such and such a date, we're going to fall in love. No, you didn't do that. No, you didn't. There's a force in the universe that does these things. And if we will simply make room in our minds or do what Amachi, the great saint, Amachi calls air conditioning our minds, we're going to see a lot more magic in them, a lot more magic in our lives, a lot more magic in our minds, inspiration. It takes a special kind of courage to do this, to think this way, because we've been taught to be in control. We've been taught that we can make things happen. We should go for the goal and all of those things that have their place. But the problem is that our culture has put them in the place, the only place. And so there's nothing else left for us to do. So let's try not doing this week. Let's try taking a few minutes every day, set the alarm on your clock, and just being in a meditative state, in a release state, in a creative visualization state, in a relaxed state, and see what begins to happen every day, 4 to 10 minutes. That's all it is. We can do this. You can do this. I can do this. We're doing it. Okay? Okay. Take care and have a really good week.